For the second day in a row, we have an NHL trade to discuss. This time it's between the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. We'll discuss that trade coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams, so if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. As I mentioned off the top, for the second day in a row, we have another NHL trade to discuss here today. This one also involves the Florida Panthers like we saw yesterday. Of course, yesterday they shipped goaltender Michael Hutchinson over to the Toronto Maple Leafs, which made a lot of sense. The Leafs have been looking for goaltending depth really ever since they lost Pickard and McElwain to waivers near the beginning of the NHL season. Now today we saw the Oilers and the Panthers swap defensemen. We saw the Florida Panthers send defenseman Alex Petrovic over to the Oilers in exchange for defenseman Chris Weidman, as well as a third-round pick coming up here in the 2019 NHL draft. One thing that both these defensemen have in common is they're both pending unrestricted free agents. Both of them are in the final year of their contracts, and both will be free agents here come July the 1st. So for either team, it's a chance to, I guess, get a different look, get a different player in their lineup, see what they think, see what the long-term fit is, if there is one, and they can consider making a re-signing here before the end of the season, or maybe the player wants to test free agency or whatnot. Either way, it's a low-risk deal, I guess, for both sides. On the Oilers side, though, they're going to be taking on some more payroll because Petrovic's making a fair bit more money than Chris Weidman. He's making $1.9 million, where Weidman's on a one-year, $1 million deal. So obviously a little bit of a salary decrease for the Panthers, where the Oilers are taking on more. Now, of course, these players are a little bit different, even though they're both right-shot defensemen. Fair bit difference in size. Weidman's a little bit smaller. Petrovic's, I think, is around 6'4". Weidman's, around 5'11", 5'10". A little on the smaller side, but he's a pretty good mobile puck-moving defenseman. Of course, he started the year as an Ottawa Senator. He was kind of front and center in that Uber scandal that they went through. He was sitting in the front seat of that car when everything kind of unfolded with that video taking place. I'm not really sure if that really had a lot to do with the trade. Really, even before that ever was released, he seemed like he was kind of falling out of favor in Ottawa. His playing time was being decreased, and just looks like he wasn't a fit there any longer, and they likely were already considering moving him. That might have just been the straw that broke the camel's back and decided to get him out of town a little bit sooner. But either way, Weidman goes over to the Oilers. He really only played in a handful of games, put up a couple of assists. Now he's off to Florida. So, of course, he'll go to the Florida Panthers, who seem to be fond of taking on scandalous players from the Ottawa Senators. Of course, they got Mike Hoffman, who was involved in a big Erik Karlsson, harassment issue this past summer as well. Now they get Weidman from the Uber scandals. This seems kind of weird how these guys end up becoming teammates again in Florida. But either way, for today, though, you get Petrovic and Weidman basically being swapped for each other. So the Oilers send a smaller puck-moving defenseman for a bigger, more defensive defenseman. There is an argument out there, I think, by many that Petrovic's probably the better defensive defenseman amongst the two, but he has been struggling this year. He's a -8 on the season, only put up 1 assist in 26 games for the Panthers, so not having a great year. As we know, the Panthers were a team that was expected to take another step forward this year, and they've been very inconsistent, been struggling as of late. You could probably say the same about the Oilers, except last year's record for the Oilers wasn't great. We certainly expected more this year, and they certainly were on a pretty good roll after hiring Ken Hitchcock and changing coaches. But of course, things have been on a bit of a downward spiral here yet again more recently. So we'll see if this small change can kind of spark things, but I doubt it'll have a whole lot of impact here longer term. Losing Weidman certainly not going to be a big impact, and adding Petrovic, hopefully will be a positive impact, but I don't see it being as a big one. Instead, it's just a matter of swapping one right shot defenseman for another. Plays a little bit different style of game. Both these guys also have career highs of 17 points, so they're also pretty even in that regard. So obviously the main reason the third-round pick was included with the Oilers is just going to kind of offset the contract difference. Obviously, like I said, with Petrovic making 1.9 and Weidman making 1. So of course, as always, want to hear your thoughts and comments down below in the comment section here. What do you think of this trade? Do you see it making much of an impact on either side? Which defenseman do you think is better? Which will help us determine kind of who won this trade. If you're new to the channel here, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up before you go. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.